All right, everybody, we are back with another episode of the Get Stuff Done podcast. I'm actually coming from you, not from my usual location in Seoul, but actually way down on the very south coast of Korea in a city called Yosu, where I've been spending some time this week. In this episode, I'm absolutely delighted to welcome my guest, Chinatsu Kaneko, who is based in Tokyo and has recently taken on the co-managing director role at Gensler Tokyo office. Gensler is one of the largest design firms uniting creativity, research, innovation to solve complex problems for their clients. Her expertise is in workplace design, strategy and change management, and she's been speaking at many industry events and conferences in her career. And that's actually how we had the pleasure of meeting each other first in Seoul, actually before COVID, at a Chamber of Commerce event where she was speaking about workplace design. And I had the chance to hear her and keep in touch ever since. So we'll talk a little bit about that. She was born in Tokyo, but spent many years working and studying overseas. I think she has a lot to tell us and share insights about getting stuff done. I'm ready to get stuff done with my GSD cat. So Chinatsu, thank you for being my guest today.
Hi, Gordon. Thanks for having me.
So we're going to talk about getting stuff done. Of course, that is the name of the podcast and what this is all about. And I think you were actually curious about where the whole concept came from. Is that right?
Yes, exactly. Well, Gordon, when you invited me and showed me the whole list of so many episodes that you had done already, and all around the concept of get stuff done. And I've been thinking about that phrase for, just a couple of days now. And I thought, wow, what a great phrase, getting stuff done, because you could take it, interpret it in so many different ways, both personally, professionally, long-term goals, short-term goals, getting stuff done today, getting stuff done this year, getting stuff done in your life, And I thought, my God, what a fantastic phrase. And I just wanted to ask first, how did you come up with this? And then maybe I can share some of my episodes.
Sure. No, thank you. Thank you for asking. Basically, I'm very fortunate that my initials of my name are GSD.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So a very good friend of mine, who I won't name because I don't think he likes that kind of thing, but he does know who he is, once said to me that, Gordon, you like to always get stuff done and your initials are GSD. What a coincidence. And I said, that is absolutely genius. I love it. I'm gonna jump on that. And so basically I had this kind of like, I like to get stuff done, and I'm Gordon Stewart Dudley. And that then came to be around last year when I wanted to kind of get back a little bit to what we were doing pre-COVID with coaching and helping people, because we had been really focusing with RDI Worldwide, my main business, on recruitment. And so I realized that actually helping people in a kind of professional development way, whether that is professional or personal, is something that I really enjoy. And so that's how I kind of created this brand and kind of developed it. And I realized that one great base for this kind of get stuff done project would be a podcast, which I can do on a regular basis. I can utilize my network with great people like yourself, who I know all around the world and have built up over many years, to try to be the base of the project. And let's see where it goes and take it from there. And so that's how this kind of like fun, kind of colorful design of GSD came about.
Oh, that's fantastic. I didn't make the link between that phrase and your initials. That's fantastic. So personalized. So jealous. Now you got me thinking, what does my initials stand for?
CK. Well, look, I
Anyway.
mean, Chinatsu, you obviously have been someone who has been able to successfully get huge amounts done in your career. So tell me about you. I mean, you think about getting stuff done in many
Mm,
ways.
mm,
At the start of each week, I guess let's
mm,
use that as
mm,
a time block. You
mm,
probably have a whole bunch of things
mm.
that you would like to get done. But what
Yep.
are some of the ways that you go about making sure you get everything
Yep.
done that you need to?
Yep. So I was thinking that how interesting it is that when my role in the organization changed, the time span I think about in getting stuff done changes. So when I was a designer, interior designer, it was about daily to-do list task. I got to get that done. I got to get my drawings done. I got to call my site manager and check on the site or construction, whatever. And then you become a manager. You think about the span of project. How am I going to get this project done? And then when you become a co-managing director as a leader of an organization, you think much longer, 1 year, 2 year, 5 year span. What are my goals and how am I going to get that done? And so it's so interesting how, depending on your position, your focus on getting stuff done changes. And you
Yes.
have your long term vision versus daily tasks. But what's common for me always is as a workplace designer and strategist and change manager, I believe in the power of design physical space on human behavior. And
Okay.
so I believe that if the environment is set up properly for a purpose of something, either it's a corporation or even a residence or whatever it is, I believe that the physical environment has a positive impact on human. So how do I get stuff done is, to me, it's not about checking off the to-do list. To me, it's about moving forward towards the future that I believe is going to improve the world really. What helps me get stuff done is focus and be motivated by this, like, I don't know, romanticized vision of the brighter future, I guess. That's
Right.
what drives me
Yeah.
all the time.
I think probably this entire episode is going to be me frantically nodding my head as I agree with everything you say, because no, I fully agree with that. You know, you feel it just even on a very tiny personal basis. If there's something in your space which is not quite harmonious, the focus mentally is very difficult to get. But on
Mm,
the flip side, when that environment is right, you can have such a productive time, which is like kind of
yes.
off the charts. And I think about myself as a British person living in Korea,
Mm,
as not a Korean native speaker, and as I'm going around in public spaces, there is the general conversation of people, and because Korean is not my native language, to actually understand it, I have to kind of tune into it to listen, actually physically
mm,
really listen to it. Whereas I can
mm,
very easily switch it off and let it wash over me. So even
mm,
if I'm in a crowded public space, I'm
mm,
relatively protected from
mm.
the distractions. Whereas in an English speaking environment, I hear every single little conversation going on.
Yes,
And so
yes.
we think about some of these kind of co-working spaces, even down to the language that's being spoken and how that relates to you can
Mm.
definitely have a big impact.
That's so
So
interesting. I had a similar experience. So, as a workplace consultant person, leading North Asia in my previous role, I used to travel to Korea, China, Hong Kong, Beijing to Shanghai, and then to Tokyo. And unfortunately, I wasn't able to pick up the language very much. I tried, but it didn't. And so I was relying on English. And so when I would go to Korea or to China, and everybody was talking the foreign language, and it all became noises, right? So even though I was surrounded by noise, that's just noise, not information. So I would want to come back to Tokyo or in Hong Kong where I understand the language, a lot of it, you have lots of input throughout the day. Even when you get on the train, you look at the ads, when when people walking by saying something, you pick
yeah,
up on those things. And you can say that's stimulating and a lot of information coming in, or you could say it's, distracting. When I
Yeah.
was in China, when I couldn't understand the language, I felt like I was in I had a headphone on and I was able to actually focus very much.
Right. Right.
Yeah,
Yeah, for
yeah,
sure. I mean,
yeah.
distraction or even sensory overload, of course. I mean,
Yes,
you
exactly.
mentioned marketing messages, and there's that crazy stat that we get hit with something like 600 marketing messages per day
Yeah,
in our daily life, which
yeah,
is kind of an astounding number that
hmm,
happens.
yeah.
I want to. You mentioned your travels to Korea. Let's talk briefly about how we met, and I want to let people know that it was now, it's 5 years since
Mm,
we met,
yeah,
and you gave a presentation,
yeah,
and I was very curious and interested about this area of workplace design. Myself, I've been in the kind of professional development, human resource, HRD side of things, how teams
mm,
can be more effective, how
yeah,
leaders can create better environments,
yeah,
and your perspective was complementing that with the physical environment. And I think
right.
that's why it's definitely so interesting for me.
Mm,
And
mm,
maybe this is a message for the audience, is that 5 years ago I was incredibly impressed with Chinatsu's presentation. LinkedIn kept us in contact. We connected on
yeah.
LinkedIn after that
Mm,
first meeting,
mm.
and here we are now, with slightly different hats on,
Yeah, yeah.
literally different hats on,
Yeah.
um, and different roles.
Mhm.
So I think that's just the power of maintaining contact and building
Mm,
your network.
mm.
It can be very powerful. I just wanted to kind of mention that for people who are out there
Yeah.
thinking about is networking really worth it? But
Mm. Certainly
relatively
is. Certainly is.
recently, you have now taken on a new role, um, and so what's been the biggest kind of challenge for you? How has it kind of changed? What are some of the things which have been affected maybe your ability to get stuff done?
Well, so in my previous role, I was more of a consultant on the workplace. So I used to, collect data, analyze, and come up with a proposal plan ABC, option ABC, or whatever it is. And a lot of the point of view in evaluating the value we had bring to the client would have been very measurable. Like, we use survey to see how things improve from point A to point B. So many things are measurable, and you would set KPI, which is, measurable goals. So
Hmm.
to get the stuff done, meaning creating, let's say the goal of getting stuff done was creating an impactful workplace, then we already had like a certain set of measurements. Now, being back in the design world, which is more aesthetics and feeling and an emotion and people's response to the environment, those things are not as measurable
Right.
as, you can't take a survey, you can't take a, express the impact of it in numbers. And so it becomes more emotional and human responses, which I think is really important right now, because after COVID people have questioned, do we need to go to the office? I could get stuff done online. I have all the digital tools. I can collaborate. Actually, if I don't go to the office, I can collaborate with, people in Seoul. It's the environment much freer. And so why do I have to go to the office? And what is, so now the idea of workplace and what is this workplace? How is it helping people get stuff done?
Hmm.
Is in question in a deeper way. And it's really interesting time, because now, before we assume that we would go to the office to get stuff done. But now you kind of want to have to. You choose to go to the office to get stuff done. And how attractive is that space that you choose to go to is the question that
Yeah.
workplace designers are being asked right now.
Absolutely. And so then immediately we think about all the different kinds of company cultures where some are perfectly productive and perfectly effective
Yeah,
in virtual environments,
yeah,
having never met or
yeah.
in person or co-located. And I remember a cryptocurrency client of mine that we did some work for, and they essentially had one person in each country around APAC region.
Mm,
And these people within this team were being in cryptocurrency relatively separated from their real identities in terms of at least publicly, but
yeah,
even internally, they had not met face to face. They only had these virtuations, but
yeah.
for that organization, it was working absolutely fine. And
Wow.
I think there are, of course, others who, there's been these back to the office mandates from
Hmm.
lots of organizations,
Yeah,
but then often a lack of consideration or strategic planning around
yeah,
why
yeah,
and how it's actually going to play out
yeah.
when people are in the office, and even more so when they are no they've changed their lifestyle and now they're not able to be in the office for
Hmm.
different reasons. And so that's
Hmm.
definitely, as you say, the time that we're in,
Yeah,
it's led to quite a divergence of company
yeah.
cultures, I think.
Exactly. And then it's also led to the question about commute time so much around, especially in Tokyo. I mean, Tokyo is a really dense city, but a lot of people live, an hour, hour and a half, away from their office. So then now nobody ever asked before COVID, what am I doing 3 hours on the train? You know what I mean? And what I could
Everything
get
you're
other
there.
stuff done. So many people went to, they picked up a new hobby or, started jogging during
Yeah.
at that time instead of transportation. So I think getting stuff done has a lot to do with time management and what you prioritize. And that's, I feel like I've been honing that skill over the many, many years that, it's just been like a lifelong training to do time management for me to get stuff done. Because that's, at the end of the day, it's about, you have 24 hours. How do you want to spend it to get your stuff done? So I
Absolutely.
try to be conscious of that, and I try to tell my teams to prioritize as well.
So for me personally, I really struggle if I am in my living space.
Hmm.
I I find it very difficult to switch into to work mode. If I'm doing
Mm,
something very light and relatively straightforward, sure, I can kind of like home office and work on stuff. But when it comes to anything more significant,
mhm,
where I really have to, over a slightly longer time period, I've
mhm.
got to go to I've got to, I don't necessarily, it's not like school. I don't have to put on my school uniform. Like I don't have to put on a suit
Mm,
to kind of get into work mode, but I do have to um, change my physical location,
mm.
and and then that somehow
Yeah,
mentally primes me to get into work
yeah,
mode.
yeah. That's great. You're very in tune with the power impact that physical environment has on your mindset, and also the transition time is important too. I'm the same way. I mean, during COVID, when you're just working at home and you're going to the second floor to get work. You just go down the stairs to have dinner. I mean, that was not long enough for me to shift my mind. So I would sit down at the dinner table and still thinking about work, and I needed that time to shift my mind. And actually, a colleague of mine said this really something funny. He was working at home every day, but he needed that shift. It seems similar to what I just said. And he would walk to the train station, come back. So he would go for a walk. Even if he was at home, he would get out of the house, go for a walk, come back and say, "Hi, I'm home." And he was in a personal mindset now,
Yeah.
private mode. And so people do
Yeah.
need that shift, and it's personal. I think it's different from everybody. Some people are very good at juggling, multitasking, right? I think a lot of parents with children are very good at multitasking. I'm sure with kids all around, and or even people who's taking care of your seniorly, your parent, or when you have a lot of things going on in your personal life, but you're still juggling the professional life. That's a lot of stuff to get done, and you train your mind to um, bring out the best productivity out of you, and that's what's so. I think that's really interesting to in pursuit of being productive in
Yeah,
multiple facets of life.
for sure. It's almost a case of whatever works for you, and as long as
Yeah,
you are well aware of what you need,
yeah,
then you can
yeah,
go ahead and do that.
yeah, which is really hard to
Um,
do.
yes, right. It's like you said, it's a lifelong journey to kind of find out what works for you, and of course, the reality is that it also changes over time with
Hmm.
our age and
Hmm.
personal status as well.
Yeah,
Um, if you were to change your organization, all of a sudden what
yeah,
you need from your working environment also changes, I think.
yes.
And am I right that there's a term that is called a boomerang? Someone who
Thank
is
you.
a kind of a returnee. Tell
Yeah.
me tell me about that
Uh,
in your particular case.
so
You actually
here's
have a
my
boomerang.
it's an
Okay.
actual boomerang. So Gensler really promotes people coming back to Gensler after they left. So Gensler is very open-minded corporation. It's a company of designers and creative people who have visions about a beautiful, brighter future through the power, building that brighter future through the power of design. And so we, as creative people, have lots of curiosities, right? So if when there is a time when after you worked at Gensler, you feel that you want to go explore something else, that the opportunity that may not be available at Gensler, and you decide to leave the company, but they always have an open door for you to come back. And when you do come back, they give you this thing called the boomerang because you left and came back. So what's so nice when I got this when I returned to Gensler last year. But what's so nice about this is it's got a date when I joined Gensler the first time, which was May 12th, 2008. And then the date when I did come back, which is May 8th, 2023.
I love it.
And isn't
I
it
love it.
nice? It's
I
so
love it.
nice. I love this boomerang.
Because something that they could just do very casually and say, oh, our boomerang, and yeah, oh yeah, we welcome people, which is converse, I must say, to one of my companies, which had an unwritten rule that they will never rehire you. Actually, conversely, that was their policy. Once you leave, you're
Oh,
whereas not only they talk about it, but they actually can manifest it in an actual boomerang, which
yes.
which I absolutely
Yes.
love. Yeah,
Yeah.
I
And
mean,
they still kept the employee number as well. So I have my old
okay,
employee number. So that number is like for you forever,
that
which is so nice when you come back and
that
you get this
yeah.
and you get it. Yeah.
I mean, it's a small personal touch. Obviously, it needs a good system to be able to do that in the
Yeah.
back end. But
Yeah.
no, that's absolutely great because also I think more and more companies need to develop that kind of almost we can call it like an alumni network, right? I
Mm.
mean, over
Yes.
time you acquire greater and greater numbers of people who were with the company,
Yeah.
and someone can go and learn an entire new skill set, upgrade
Yes.
their
Yes.
their capabilities, and come back and
Yes.
and 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 do even
Yes.
better. Um,
Yes. Exactly. Exactly. So for me, I was, workplace designer in my first chapter at Gensler. And then
uh-huh.
started to become much more interested in management and yeah, more on leadership role. And I wanted to
Hmm.
get training. And so I, went to CBRE and got exactly that experience in management, managing a team, and getting stuff done from that perspective was different than getting the design done. So I had really great training for 8 years at CBRE, which was really fantastic as well, because during that time I was able to promote this idea of flexible way of working and how the office space can really impact the people, and had measurable results to talk about it. So it's more like a left brain type of thinking, and then being a Gensler, being creative is more right brain, I guess. And now I'm trying to marry the two, being back.
Yeah, shout out to all my friends at CBRE around the place who, it's as of that event happening 5 years ago that we're able
Yeah.
to talk today. So obviously that company is a commercial real estate company who have identified that workplace design is important and can impact, and then they have extended that to be a service for their
Mm-hmm.
clients.
Mm-hmm.
Gensler is coming from a pure design kind of background, and doing it in probably a almost broader kind of client aspect. For you, the actual the design of the workplace been an important factor for you in choosing the companies that you've worked for?
Oh yeah, workplace design has always been the core. Like that's the consistent. I've changed jobs in the past, but then the workplace designing a place people work has been the core theme in my life. And so, and Gensler not only does design now, we now have a lot of research, and we have strategy team as well. So it's more holistic approach. And because Gensler has other what we call practice areas, and basically different types of spaces, not just workplace, but we do hotels, aviation, airports, architecture, the entire building, or even you know, lots of hospitals, we have, and in when we talk about workplaces, in all different kinds of
Mm.
industries, from professional services to law firms to tech companies. So all of those knowledge is shared. I mean, not just, Boomerang is a great example of how open Gensler is, but we're very open about our knowledge sharing as well. So, when you work with Gensler team, the core team may be 6 people, but you really have like 5,000 people behind you with the knowledge and the experiences and examples, because we're very, very, very open, creative firm.
Yeah, absolutely. And would you have any particular examples of like transformations where you have worked on a project and you've seen such a massive transformation of that workplace through better design?
No, I have to talk about CBRE project, I guess. And that was the biggest, best. It really opened up my eyes. But which is, so back in 2014, Gensler, I was a senior designer at Gensler, and CBRE hired Gensler to design their workplace that they were moving to. So they had a goal of kind of expressing their brand at Tokyo. So, a global corporate a real estate corporation committed to Tokyo. So they moved to a really fantastic location. And then they decided that they want to take all the silos away from different departments. So they adopted this open environment where everybody could sit anywhere. And so you could sit next to, whomever you wanted to. And they also created a space where different type of spaces were provided. So if you wanted to do focus work, you had a phone booth and very, very quiet space. If you wanted to collaborate, there was collaboration spaces. I mean, I think and then in doing this, they were able to not only take down the silos between departments, but they were able to reduce the overall space, and also go digital. Because in order to be mobile, you had to be more digital rather than having lots of books and files and paper carrying around with you. To me, that was sort of the manifestation of everything I had always thought about the impact the environment can have on employees. And so personally, that was sort of life changing, game changer kind of project, which I really was, appreciative of having the opportunity. And now I'm trying to find those opportunities for my team at Gensler so that younger staff can experience what I experienced, which is to bring, an impactful solution to our client.
Yeah, I think that's what anybody who is in a service-oriented type of work gets the most satisfaction from, seeing those results that just kind of blossom and thrive as things goes on. For me, specifically in recruitment, when there's just been a couple of cases where I have placed someone at a company. They have worked there for a few years, and then they have decided that they now want to move on, and we've
Mm.
got back in touch, and we've then put them into their next job. And of course you might think, oh, how can the client has paid us to hire them, and now we're taking them away. But of course the reality is that, especially if they're a boomerang organization, that they realize that this person has outgrown that role, or a number of other reasons why actually they're more than happy for that person to continue to succeed in that role. So
Yeah,
that's really
yeah.
really satisfying
And
to
I'm
to see that.
sure, what you did for that client was really impactful and had a, really memorable. I think when you're trying to get stuff done as a professional and you're doing things, you have so many clients and you're kind of going through a familiar pattern of activities, you forget the great impact you have on the client because that person is experiencing this process only once or twice. So I try to remember that whenever we design a workplace, we're impacting. Well, in the case of Siberia, it was 1,000 people on the corporation side. But for us, I was juggling like two other projects with this project, and it was like another project I gotta get done.
Yeah,
And I
yeah,
was trying to be efficient and productive in the process that I was doing. But then, you gotta remember that the stuff you design 1,000 people are going to use it every day. And they're going to think, oh, this chair is uncomfortable. There's not enough plugs in whatever it is. And then so little things all the way to like, wow, this reception really impresses my client. And it's every day. So what was amazing is that after I designed the Siberia office, I got to live in the space I designed for, 8 years. So I heard all the feedback, all the positive
yeah,
ones and the
yeah,
negative ones, and I had to
yeah.
fix it. And so I think remembering the impact you have on your client, even though it's daily routine for you, what an impact it has on their end, seeing it from their other side of point of view, it really makes you motivated. And I
Mm.
think that motivation is what helps you get stuff done rather than like, oh, I gotta get it done. It's like, oh, I can't wait to get it done, you know?
So everything you're talking about there chimes on a very deep level with me, because all through my middle school and high school, almost to university, I was thinking I want to be an architect. And of
Ah,
course, with an architect, they are, once you become a successful architect, you're absolutely thinking about the big problems, right? You're
yeah,
designing
yeah,
cities
yeah.
and so. But I think for me, the impatient aspect of get stuff done just dominates a little bit too much on me. So that's why I didn't go down the road. 7 years to study
I
architecture just
see.
seemed too long for me at that time. So I didn't go
Ah,
down I didn't go down that path.
I
Um,
see.
but who knows what could have been if that had been. I want to now turn to getting stuff done personally,
Okay.
and I want to hear a little bit about how you, in your personal life, approach getting stuff done.
Yeah. Yeah. When I was thinking about this, I remember a really good friend of mine pointed out to me that I always have a goal. And I thought that was just, normal thing. But my friend thought, God, Chinatsu, you always are chasing something. And you always say, I'm doing this and I'm going to achieve this. And you always have a goal. Whether it's, even if it's small things like I'm going to get healthier and then so I'm going to run every day or, I'm going to eat healthier. So I do this, but I always do. And having some sort of interest or some sort of pursuit always helps me to focus and at the end of the day the accumulation of all the little goals that I have and achieving them or not achieving them is moving me towards the kind of person I want to be and the kind of person that the life that I want to live. And I've learned over the years that the longer you live, the more comfortable you become with yourself and more comfortable you become with saying no to things rather than feeling like you need to be this, I should be doing this, I should be doing that. You start having less and less of I shoulds.
Right, right.
And you start having more and more, you become more clear about I want, this is what I want, this is what makes me happy. So I mean, it's the life I've lived, so I'm not going to apologize for it. And I might be a little extreme, according to my friend, about always having a goal, but it's helped me. It's helped me kind of become more and more comfortable with who I am, and especially me being sort of a Asian woman who lived, who moved to who's had an international background childhood, and coming back to Japan and trying to fit in. I really had to do a lot of like soul searching, identity searching, because people have expectations of you as a Japanese female. I think luckily things are changing a lot these days, which I'm really, really excited about. But yeah, sorry, I kind of went on a long
Not
story about a personal journey, but yeah.
no, you don't have to apologize. So, do you feel that your long period of time spent overseas was very much impactful with
Oh yeah.
even much your day to day
Oh
even now?
yes. Oh yes. I very much believe that I was my core beliefs are formed by sort of American values of freedom and individuality and everybody having equal rights. To me, that is something that I really learned and value through my experiences in America. Went to a really fantastic high school in Hawaii, and it was a very liberating education system. You could they pretty much trained you to be in a university. So you had classes, in throughout the day, but in between classes, you could do anything you wanted. And if you are meeting a certain GPA, what was it? It's grades. Then as a junior or senior in high school, you could drive off. You could go off campus during the day and come back and get your stuff done. So they really trained us to be independent and be
Right.
responsible and manage your time. And that was, I think that has influenced me to this day. And then maybe that high school experience has prepared me for a very flexible way of working in a corporations or as an adult as well.
Yes.
So yeah, I carry that. And that's my core value, and I'm not changing it because I believe in it, and I'm trying to have an impact of that in Gensler team in Tokyo.
Yeah. I mean, independence. I mean, it's almost everybody believes that empowerment is a good thing, but if we talk about as a parent, letting your kids do those things, then initially
Yeah,
it can be scary, right? Because you don't
sure.
necessarily
Sure.
trust, and even that maybe the first time doing that thing will be difficult or tough, or there might be failure, or you might even be even worse, injury or something
Yeah,
from doing that
yeah,
thing. But
yeah,
ultimately, the gain is bigger than that initial hurdle.
Yeah.
And it sounds like that environment, that education environment was definitely very, very beneficial
Very
for
much
you. I
so.
mean, definitely. You were saying about the expectations on Japanese females. Obviously, Korea is similar type of cultural background when it comes to expectations in regards to education, in regards to workplace as well. Um, and so I think it will it is evolving, and it is also
Yes.
finding a new type of balance, right?
Yeah.
Because it's not about taking another country's corporate culture and implanting here. And
Right.
there's the phrase, global best practice is or global practice is not always the best practice. That's maybe
Mm.
the way
Mm.
of putting it. It has to be kind
Mm.
of localized.
Mm.
I was I'm always quoting the book that was written about Netflix culture, No Rules Rules, by the INSEAD professor Erin Meyer, and also the co-founder of Netflix, and they have some very distinctive, Californian origin type of cultural norms within the organization. And it was very interesting to see how they have been able to take that overseas into very different cultural societies like Japan and
Mm.
Korea, and still
Mm.
be successful. I think it's a classic case of localizing, but still keeping some global elements. How is it with your current organization? Do you feel that it is very much unified across the different country offices, or is it very much a collection of country representatives?
So Gensler was founded by a fantastic, inspirational, visionary person called Art Gensler, and his lessons are summarized in a book called Art's Principles, and there's about 55 lessons in it, and those are our core values. And however we interpret that in different offices, different locations, different levels is kind of up to us, which is nice. So the core value is always very solid, but there's freedom to interpret it or execute it in whatever way that's appropriate, from for the location of the office or purpose, in changes of time changes, I guess. So that's what's so beautiful about this Gensler's core values is that, and we Tokyo office celebrated our 30th anniversary last year, and we
Hmm.
did a exhibition where we featured all the different projects that we've done over the last 30 years, and then also featured some of the great works that we've done around the world, and also featured arts principles. And a lot of visitors who came to our exhibit said, wow, arts principle really is, it's not just principles for designers and architects, but it's principles for living a really creative, fulfilling life. And
Okay.
so many people took away from that, like, I'm going to say this to my kids or whatever. And so those are really, really nice. And one of my favorite one is number, I think, 24, invest in your people.
Okay.
So as a co-managing director, I, it's no longer about myself. It's really about me creating a platform for our people to thrive. I had my phase of being an interior designer, having my own vision about this space I wanted to create, and I've done that, and I've done the Siberia Wonderful project, and now I wanna create a platform where other younger designers can experience the same or even more. So invest in your people is my sort of north star right now. Invest in your people and let them shine.
And if I can kind of double down on that, how is it that you go about investing in your people?
It's really similar to what we were just talking about, letting them empowerment, giving them opportunities and giving them the challenge that they are excited about, but also providing the stability of foundation. So solidify our foundation as an organization. So having the system of, opportunities, training, support system, mentoring, knowledge, all of that as a foundation where you want a platform that you want to sort of dance upon, and then giving them the personal challenge of each project, each task, challenging them to go beyond what they're able to do today, be a better yourself tomorrow. So always trying to find letting them, even if you're a junior designer and you think you're just doing construction drawings or something, but you can always find something, like maybe a detail that you could challenge, maybe a material choice, maybe small things that's better than the last one you did. And that gets you, excited. And once the project is, the beautiful thing about what we do is that it's always going to get done. It's always going to get built. And so it's not like, crunching numbers and here, voila, it is a number. We
Hmm.
built stuff, right? So, and you see it and when it's successful, when you messed up and you got to fix it. And so, I mean, what a, rewarding way to keep challenging your skills. And you do
And
that on clients' money.
you're right. That's the one. And I really like what you said about challenging, but when it comes to the creative aspect,
Mhm.
in a sense, there's no boundary, there's no limit with how far that you can go, right? There's no perfection. So where do you kind of draw the line? I don't know whether
Mm,
that's the right way to put it, but where
that's a
where
good
do you
question.
where do you get to a point of saying this is good enough?
Sure. So that's where the conversation of the difference between the artist and designer comes in.
Okay.
Artists can be creative, all how much, whatever motivated them, they can free reign. Designers are providing solution to a problem or a challenge in the society. So there is always a problem to solve. Designers are solving problems. And so that's why we have clients, that's why we have framework, we have budget, we have schedule, and all these things. I wouldn't call it limitation, I call it more framework. The more structured our framework is, and the clearer you can define what that is, then within that framework, you could do everything you want to. But I think designers respond to a challenge or a problem, solving problem, rather than here's a blank canvas, go paint you whatever you want. It's not like that. It's not personal expression of an emotion. That's artist. Designers are solving problems. So yeah, you can always stop yourself and you can be smart about it.
Right, I see. So there is a clear delineation of what is
I think so.
uh, required and what to solve. That's very interesting. Can I ask a very open, future-oriented question? What would be some of the kind of hot or upcoming kind of new emerging trends that we're seeing within workplace design?
Oh, I think the workplace, I hope the word office is I think the word office is dead. I think workplace has to be so many things. It has to
Hmm.
be a social club for the brand. It has to be an engaging training, learning center for employees, and it has to be like a incredible hospitable, maybe a bar for mingling with clients and employees and also business partners. It's workplace is, I think it's a social space. It just revolved around professionalism,
Yeah.
but I think it's the same thing as going to a hotel and mingling. It's the same thing as going to a community center and mingling with your neighbors. it's community, it's work community, maybe.
Yeah, no, I think you're absolutely right. I mean, we can say WeWork were perhaps a little bit ahead of the curve to create these spaces of different organizations coming together and mingling, and their catchphrases. What is it? Love what you do. I think
Mm-hmm.
which is a good one, and I think you're absolutely right. Definitely, from what I see, people's choices when it comes to what they're going to do for work is as much about the environment and the culture and the people as it is the job itself, the pay,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
all those other things. I think
Yeah,
almost if people are going to feel confident and happy to join that community, then they're
yeah,
willing to do anything
exactly,
that
exactly,
they can. I think, and that's
exactly.
very powerful. If we talk around Seth Godin's tribes concept, right? It's
Mm,
building that tribe.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
the that aspect where people will go
yeah.
above and beyond.
Mm-hmm.
It's not
It's
it's not 5 p.m. Okay, let's switch off our computers and go home.
right.
Have we got done everything that we need to do? Is everybody at the same
Yeah,
place? Are we able
yeah.
to call it a day? And that's a very different type of mindset,
Very different.
and
Very
fundamental
different.
relationship with
Yeah.
with work that I think is happening now around the world.
Yeah, exactly. And I think what that encourages you to do or allows us to be is to be more authentic. And I say that because when you're 9 to 5, you're professional. Like in Japan, there's this phrase called your front face and your real face. So your front face is like, what you think you need to be an employee number 1695 on a corporation, and you're
Right.
just a little knob on a big machine. But when workplace becomes much more like a community, you are true to who you are, and what you bring to the company is same as how you would approach your personal life or your friends. And
Yeah.
hopefully that would allow us to be more authentic, and that will give us more freedom, and you could be more motivated because you're not trying to fit into expected role, but you're really celebrating your what your passions are, what you are good at, and you're doing it in a team where other people are good at other things that you're not so good at, and that's why you love being part of this team and part of that community.
Yeah.
So see, that's a brighter future that I'm motivated by.
I sincerely hope so. I really think that if people can be more their authentic self when they're at work, they will be more happier, productive people.
Yeah.
I often talk about on my LinkedIn the elimination of Monday morning blues, right?
Yes.
Let's not have Monday
Yeah.
morning blues, and let's not think about weekend as
Yeah.
the recovery from the week.
Yeah.
Let's
That's
um,
fantastic.
move towards
Yeah.
a place where people can work in a more
Yeah.
balanced way, whatever that
Yeah.
might be. I mean, for some people,
Exactly.
it's still working 100 hours a week. That's what they want to
Yeah.
do, and that's fine. For other people,
Exactly.
it's 2 hours a day.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but
But you
so I
can,
think,
I think we all have to know that we have the right to pursue that and define it for yourself. I think that is the start in everything. To get to where I am today, I've had several really, really tough, dark phases in my life where, I had to fit into a mold, and I tried very hard to be something different, put on the suit, put on the facade, put on the makeup, and be that person that I'm supposed to be. And it wasn't right. It wasn't authentic. And all of us, I think, should go through this kind of phases to because it would help you. It would help each of us to define what it is for each of us. And so to not be afraid of that journey is really important. And then hopefully you have people around you that are going to support you walk through that journey But I think you're not going to have it, have the answer right when you're starting your job, early in your career. You're not going to have the answer, but hopefully you're willing to test things out and try it,
Exactly.
reflect, learn from it. Yeah, and
Yeah.
get closer and closer to your authentic self, I guess.
Absolutely, absolutely. That period of, like you say, people knowing that they can test things out, and try things out, and if it doesn't work out, that's okay. But they've taken something away from that, learned what is not right for them. They can now take that and move on to something closer to what is right for them. So
Yeah.
I think we have covered a lot of topics today. Unfortunately, we're out of time now, Chinatsu. I always
Wow.
want to make sure that if people want to get in touch with my guests, they have the ability. What would be the
Yes.
best way for people to reach out to you?
Find me on Gensler.com and under Tokyo office, and I'll be on there. Look me up.
Perfect. Thank you so much for being my guest today. I really appreciate you
Yeah,
sharing your
this was
insights and experience,
fantastic.
and I also
Yeah.
really enjoyed chatting with you today.
Thank you so much for inviting me. This was really fantastic moment to reflect. Thanks, Gordon.
Thank you. And to all the listeners and viewers around the world, thank you once again for joining us on the Get Stuff Done podcast. If you haven't yet subscribed, whatever platform you are listening on, whether it is Spotify, SoundCloud, iTunes, or YouTube, it would be greatly appreciated if you click that subscribe button and follow us so that you can get each new episode as soon as it comes out. And remember, let's get stuff done.